Welcome to Karis, part of the town of Raseborg since 2009. This guided tour consists of 3 parts: Karis past and present, Brobacka archaeological site and Hilding Ekelund in Karis. This tour has been funded by Västnyländska Kultursamfundet as an EU project. Hilding Ekelund in Karis. Architect Hilding Ekelund, also known as Karis' own architect, gave shape to almost all of Karis' public buildings for 3 decades. Without doubt, he is the one to have most strongly influenced the architectural heritage of the town. Hilding Ekelund was born in Kangasniemi near Mikkeli in 1893 and died in Helsinki in 1984. After completing his basic schooling, Ekelund studied architecture at Helsinki Technical College. It was here he met his wife-to-be, Eva Kuhlefelt Ekelund, a significant architect in her own right. The pair graduated together in 1916 and subsequently worked for different architectural firms in both Finland and Sweden. They married in Stockholm in 1920. The following 2-year study trip to Italy came to have great influence upon their development as architects and upon later study trips. Together the pair drew up the plans for Stiftsgården Lärkulla in Karis, exhibiting clear influences from Italian monasteries, 1920s classicism and the Sigtuna Foundation buildings in Sweden. Ekelund was one of the 20th century's most influential architects in Finland. Together with his contemporaries Alvar Aalto, Birger Brunila, Erik Bryggman and J.S. Sirén, he was among the foremost architects in the country. Major works that he has drawn include the Helsinki Art Museum, Töölö Church, the Velodrome, the Olympic Village, the Rowing Stadium, the Finnish Embassy in Moscow, and Sundholmen Power Station in Helsinki, as well as a long list of first-rate private homes. In addition to this, he drew up numerous plans for projects in and around Karis, most of which were realized. His production may have been even more renowned if he had not so often come second or third in architectural competitions. Even his Italian-inspired blueprint for the Finnish Parliament buildings of 1924, Cento Colonne, came only in second place. It was J.S. Sirén's proposal which was later realized. Particularly towards the end of the 1920s and the beginning of the 30s, when the transition towards functionalism took place, Ekelund was one of the foremost architects of the avant-garde. He was an eager spokesman for this new rationalist style. He was a great proponent of anonymous architecture, architettura minore, the traditional practical style found in southern countries which, to his eyes, stood for a true, durable and eternal architectural form. In 1930 Karis became a township, and buildings in the rapidly growing town north of Kiilamalmen had been planned in various stages from the beginning of the century. Plans were drawn up by the surveyor Volmar Svetishin and the professor of architecture Carolus Lindberg. Lindberg's plans proved to be too grand, however, and this is where Ekelund came in. His first commission was the 1930s chemists, and the last his unrealized plans from 1975 for a proposed museum, Acropolis, to be situated below the water tower. The background to Ekelund's involvement in Karis stems from the contacts he forged with township director Rudolf Eriksson and other private persons with whom he enjoyed lifelong friendship. From 1942 to 1973 he served as an expert for the municipal administrative court and stood behind many public, ecclesiastical and private buildings. He was city architect in Helsinki during the 40s and professor at the Technical College during the 50s. The layout of the town and buildings is largely the result of his efforts. The town plan, that is to say the garden town Karis, still bears clear marks of his influence. This may be seen in the way lots are divided and in the placement of buildings in relation to lot boundaries and streets. One can easily submit that Ekelund was one of the most important people behind the planning and development of Karis in the 20th century. Ekelund's architecture may be generally characterized by its intellectual clarity. It is clean and reserved with an almost classic imprint. The buildings are most often of brick, sometimes with lighter plastering. Typical elements of his architecture are, for example, the internal divisions of the windows, the shape of the eaves and other details of the facade, such as small rounded windows and small balconies. The plans for what was then named Karis Town Hall were drawn up in 1942-43, and the first stage of the project, what we see today, was approved. The middle part of the realized building was originally to be linked to a 3-story tower on the east side and an accommodation wing on the west. Other buildings in Karis drawn by Ekelund include St. Olof's Chapel, the assembly rooms, the water tower and the sports arena. He also drew several houses on private commission, such as a home for the elderly, the doctor's house, the nursery school, the children's farm, and numerous schools including that in Kila, Samskolan and Västernylands Vocational School. Further information about his buildings may be found on information boards at the various sites, and the further publication is also available.